Work here, welcome back to the bench. If you remember from my EDC video, my everyday carry knife, my Kershaw Thermite, is getting a little bit dull. By a little bit, I mean really dull. This thing can't cut through crap right now. So we're going to sharpen it. So my brother got me this Lansky Sharpener's kit. It's a pretty nice kit. It comes with multiple stones, a bracket, and some guide rods here, and some oil. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of paper towel. I'm going to put my kit up here, put my paper towels down here. One of them I'm going to use just to keep the oil and stuff off my bench. The other one I'm going to use to actually wipe off my blade to keep an eye on it. So I'm going to take a trick that I used when I was working on my trigger for my AR-15. I'll post that video up here. What we're going to do is we're going to use a Sharpie marker to mark our blade to make sure that we're getting nice coverage on the blade while we're sharpening. And make sure that you get the entire sharpened area of the blade, just so that you can make sure that you're getting as much coverage as possible. The goal of this is to get as close to the original bevel angle of the blade, so that you're not wasting or cutting away additional material. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my bracket. I'm going to get my blade placed into my bracket, and the bracket placed as close to the center of the blade as I can. That way I'm not gaining too much of an angle as I go. I'm going to go a little closer in this way, so that as I work around the curve here, the stone will naturally try to arc. So now that I'm pinching here, I'm going to tighten the back of my bracket. And what that's going to do is it's going to pivot on this screw here and tighten the blade in, so that we get a nice tight hold. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a stone. This blade doesn't need a whole lot of work, so we're going to start with kind of a middle grit. So my stones here start really rough and go finer as you go down this way. So we're going to start with a mid grit here. We're going to select the 280 medium grit. So to prepare the stone, we need to place a guide rod in it. So we're going to back off the thumb screw, place the guide rod in, and tighten the thumb screw back up to hold the guide rod in. So now the guide rod's held in, and we have our stone assembly. Now let's go ahead and oil the stone a little bit. So I like to get enough oil on it and then work the oil in to make sure that the stone is nice and wet, because I don't want a dry stone on my blade. And now let's get started. I'm going to kind of guesstimate here. The bracket's got multiple different guide slots on it. Each one of these guide slots gives you a different angle for the blade itself, and those angles are stated on the back. So we're going to start with the 25 and see if that matches the angle of my blade. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to place it in the 25, and we're going to take a couple of passes. Now we're going to finish up. We're going to take a look at my blade, and we're going to check and see the area that's silver. Now I can see that just this front edge is silver, and the back is not. So that tells me my angle is too steep and I need to shallow it out a little bit. So let's move down to the 20 and see if that helps us out. So now that I've done the 20, we can see that it's shallowed out quite a bit. We're getting much more of the blade coverage here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with 20. I think that's what I did the last time I did this anyway. We're going to keep going. And just continue to work the blade down until we don't see any more of the Sharpie. Now I do remember this the last time. If you notice here, on the tip of the blade, I'm actually getting sharpening back here towards the main portion of the blade and not quite as much out here on the tip. It tells me that the angle is changing between the blade here and the blade here. So I'm going to try going up to a steeper angle for the tip of the blade to see if I can get that evened out. So that was right. The 25 ended up clearing up the tip, and the 20 ended up clearing the rest of the blade here. So now I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so now I've got this side cleaned up as well. I can already tell that my blade is getting quite a bit sharper. So now we're going to up it to the next grit level. We're going to do the same thing. And get started. Alright, that side's done. We go to the other side now. Now I'm going to do the same thing and go up one more level. Now this finest grit is 1,000 grit in this kit. And that's it for the kit and the stones in the kit. I'm going to go ahead and take the knife out. And just kind of set the kit aside for a second. Alright, so these are my cheap China stones. I've got a 2,000 and a 3,000 grit of these. We're just going to oil up the 3,000 grit stone. Basically use it to hone. Much better. And there we go. In about 15 minutes, I got this thing from being too dull to be able to cut a cardboard box to being able to shred paper. Now, I'm not good enough at this to be able to get it to the point where I can shave hair with it, but it's sharp enough for my needs. So now, it's ready to go back into the EDC rotation. So that's it for this time, guys. As I clean up the workbench, I'd really appreciate it if you go ahead and like and subscribe this video. And remember, do your research, get informed, and get to work.